Good afternoon. My name is Doug Brazy and I'm an air safety investigator with the National Transportation Safety Board. Let me begin by offering my condolences to the family and friends of those involved in this tragic accident. Next, I'd like to personally thank the Virginia State Troopers, the Williamsburg Fire Department, and the Williamsburg Police Department for their exemplary work in responding to the scene and coordination of all activities. The NTSB is here to investigate the facts and circumstances of this accident. Our purpose is to ultimately determine the cause and to prevent similar accidents from occurring in the future. We will be looking at three focused areas: the helicopter, pilot, and the environmental circumstances. To that end, our work here will be collecting perishable evidence, witness statements, and other data. I have a team of 6 investigators working with me from the Federal Aviation Administration, the helicopter manufacturer, the engine manufacturer, along with another NTSB investigator. We have just begun our work today, so I don't have too many details yet. Some information I do have for you: the helicopter is a Robinson Helicopter Incorporated Model R44. Its registration is N like November, 616H like Hotel, S like Sierra, N616HS. It has 4 seats, 1 engine, 1 245 horsepower engine. It departed the Williamsburg-Jamestown Airport around 4:30 p.m. yesterday. The pilot was the only person on board. We don't know the destination of the flight yet. The helicopter crashed into a 10-unit apartment building about 1 mile from the airport. 1 person inside that building was killed. There were no reports of other injuries on the ground. The pilot held a commercial pilot certificate. Pilot who we believe was on board, we have not confirmed his identity yet. The pilot who we believe is on board held a commercial pilot certificate with ratings for airplane single-engine land, airplane multi-engine land, instrument airplane, and rotorcraft helicopter. I'd like to ask that any witnesses to this event that have not already spoken to the NTSB or the Virginia State Police, please contact the NTSB through the following 2 contact points: witness@ntsb.gov or 202-314-6290. We expect to release a preliminary report summarizing the facts gathered thus far in 10 to 14 days. That will be a factual report. It will not contain the cause of the accident. Investigations typically run for about 18 months, start to finish. I have a few minutes for your questions.
What can you tell us about the debris that has been gathered so far that is out on the lawn? That you won't release any information about the pilot or his identity, but what can you tell us about the debris that you've been able to gather so far? And what does it tell you about the crash?
The debris that's been laid out so far out in the yard was gathered by the fire department during the early responding, or during their response early on to the fire. They contain what they thought may be helicopter parts. Some of them are, and some of them are not. We have not examined those parts yet.
Can you talk a little bit about your process for examining the wreckage here? Just walk us through, because we're all laymen
Sure.
for what you guys are looking at in this building.
What we're looking at here today is gathering things that we call perishable, or things that might change over time. So that's going to be marks left by the helicopter on the ground or in the building, the condition of certain components, anything that can or might change as the helicopter is picked up and recovered and moved to a salvage facility. We will also be collecting witness statements and fuel records and other things that are perishable or very hard to fetch as the investigation ages. From there, the next step is usually a follow-on examination in a more controlled environment at a salvage facility that the helicopter is recovered to, where we will typically lay out pieces near where they should have been pre-accident for further analysis.
Do you have any evidence at this point that the helicopter to this point or anything of that nature?
We don't. We have started collecting a few witness statements that have mentioned interesting things about the engine sounding unusual or the engine sounding funny. We're not done reviewing all of those, and we don't know what those mean yet.
You gave us a description of the helicopter. Are you able to tell us, was it a small, I guess, you know, how big, the size of it, I guess?
It's got 4 seats, 1 engine, and 2 rotor blades on top, and a tail rotor in the rear. I don't know how much it weighs, but 4 seats. It's about the size of a small car with a helicopter tailboom on the
Doug,
end.
just by pointing to the complex here, can you show us roughly where the point of impact was?
We don't yet know exactly where the helicopter impacted the complex. We do know where it ended up, which is halfway between the front and the back of the 2 faces that you see here. But we don't know where it entered yet. We hope to find that. There's a lot of that's been consumed by fire.
Was the helicopter being used for commercial purposes or private, or is that done?
We don't know. We suspect it's a private operation, but we've still got many records to look at. 2 more, and I gotta go.
You know, it's been said that the search for the pilot is still ongoing. Could you kind of explain what that means for us? Because from the outside, it just seems like, why is the search still ongoing?
The search for the pilot of the helicopter, it's over. The pilot was recovered this morning.
Okay. Thank you.
Can't tell you his name.
Yeah.
Can you went through this,
All right, 2 more. You get 1, and then you.
you went through the certificates, and I'm a layman, so I really don't know. But with all of his certificates, was he properly certified to the best of your knowledge?
As far as we know, we've got a lot of things to look into, but of those ratings that I mentioned, those were appropriate to fly this helicopter. But we're not done. Last question, and I'll have 1 more thing to say before I leave.
The deceased, how long is it going to take for the forensics to come back? I imagine it's going to take forensics. So,
Autopsy reports?
not just that, but you know, dental records, things along those lines. Isn't that what it's going to take to confirm the identity of the pilot?
That's a good question for the medical examiner. I don't know. Full autopsy reports are usually on the order of 2 or 3 months. Identifications are much quicker. I think it depends on what they have to work with, but I'm not an expert, I'm sorry. Last thing, if you have other questions, please contact Peter Knudsen at the number that I left you before we started. I don't know if there will be another press conference tomorrow or not. I'm going to have to leave that open. I'm going to leave it with a maybe. Thank you very much for your patience.
Was he in contact with the tower
Sorry, last question.
during the incident?
All right. For those of you who don't know me, Sergeant Michelle Anaya, State Police. Last name Anaya, first name Michelle, Sergeant. The deceased female that was a resident was identified this morning as Jean Danelko. Pronunciation is Danelko, 91 years of age, who lived in one of the condominiums. This is a statement that was made by her family members and asked to read to you. Like he said, this is a very intense situation that they're trying to cope with. Jean Danelko was 91 years old when she died July 8, 2018. Born in 1926 in Norwalk, Connecticut, Jean was an avid reader and a world traveler. She worked as the secretary to the president of PBS, Bruce Christensen. Bruce and his family still send Christmas gifts to Jean every year after 20 years of retirement. Jean lived alone, very independently, and still drove and did weekly volunteer work at the Williamsburg Senior Center. She exercised regularly in a class at the Williamsburg Community Center, and she was a longtime member of St. Olaf Catholic Church. Jean had 1 son, but a large family of step-grandchildren and great-grandchildren and others who all called her Grandma Jean. Generous and thoughtful, Jean was well loved and admired by all who knew her. Please respect the family's wish to grieve in privacy. They do not want any media to contact them at this time. When they will become available, they will make contact. Thank you.